flew over a field 2 miles from my own house. From 400 feet, the cut lines resolved into a shape I recognized immediately. The exact roofline of my house, chimney and all, with a single door-sized gap burned black in the center, right where my bedroom window would be. I have flown this county for 11 years. I know what our land looks like from the air. Someone had drawn my house into a wheat field and left the bedroom open. You asked me to start with March 3rd, so I will. I fly a Cessna ag truck out of the Miller Strip, spraying for 4 counties, mostly dawn runs before the wind picks up. That morning, I came in low over Ed Halvorsen's north wheat section and saw 7 straight lines cut into the crop, converging on a single point like spokes on a wheel. Clean edges, no tractor tracks, no footprints in the dew leading in or out, which I noticed because I circled twice to check. I called it in to the county as vandalism figured kids with a rope and a board. Ed didn't laugh when I told him. He asked me to fly it again that afternoon. When I did, 3 of his cows were lying at the center point, legs folded in wrong directions, all pointing toward the middle like the spokes had pulled them there. After the cows, Ed asked me to photograph every field on his section from the air, and I did twice a week with a camera mounted on the dash. The patterns kept coming. Concentric rings with notches cut into them like clock markings, always facing the same direction. I started measuring the bearings against my compass out of habit, and they lined up with true courses I actually fly, headings I use every week. I didn't think much of that until October 12th, when I banked over a field 3 miles east and saw my own tail number burned into the stubble. N 4471 Q. You can't read it from the road. You can only read it from 400 feet, looking straight down, which means whoever cut it knew exactly what altitude I'd be at, and exactly which field I'd choose to check next. I showed the tail number photo to Deputy Ransom. He said someone probably knew my plane and was messing with me, which is fair. Everyone in this county knows my plane. But he didn't explain the count. 7 spokes on the first field, 6 rings on the second, 5 notches on the third, always 3 nights apart, always fewer than the last, like something ticking down. I went back through my own flight logs to check the dates against my routes, and found every single pattern sat directly under a path I fly, in order, one after another, moving closer to my own hangar with each one. I have flown a slight dogleg near a quarter section called the Kettle since I trained under Walt Iverson 15 years ago. I never asked him why. The patterns were leading straight along that dogleg toward it. I drove out to the Iverson place to ask Walt about the Kettle, but he'd passed 2 winters back, so I ended up talking to Elmer Voss instead, who farms the section next to it. He told me the pond there dried up in his grandfather's time, and nobody ever planted that quarter section again. Said the family kept a 1/4 mile buffer around it, wouldn't graze cattle near it, wouldn't fly low over it either, and that Walt taught every student pilot in this county to dogleg around it without ever saying why. I told him about the tail number, the countdown, the bearings. Elmer went quiet a long moment. Then he said, "They're not marking the fields. They're marking a path." And I finally admitted out loud what I'd already worked out on my own map at home. The path ended at my hangar. Against every regulation I fly by, I decided to sit out the next pattern instead of flying over it after the fact. Based on the count and the spacing, I guessed the field would be the Larson quarter section, 4 nights out. Elmer came with me. We parked his truck at the tree line with the headlights off and a couple thermoses of coffee and waited. Nothing happened for hours. The wheat sat still under a clear sky, no wind at all, which out here is its own kind of strange. Then, a little after 3 in the morning, I heard a low hum, almost below hearing, more felt in the teeth than heard in the ears. The whole field bent over in one motion, every stalk at once, like something had pressed a hand flat across the surface of it. Then it went completely silent again. Elmer had a handheld spotlight in his truck bed and finally used it. The beam caught a shimmer moving across the field, the kind of distortion you see over hot asphalt, except it was 3 in the morning in October. Wherever it passed, the wheat folded flat behind it in a widening ring, stalk by stalk, with no blade, no machine, no sound of any engine. Elmer didn't say a word. He put the truck in reverse before I'd even gotten the door shut. We waited until first light to walk out, and the ring had already finished itself, edges razor clean like all the others. Except this one had a shape worked into the center I hadn't seen from any of the others. A fuselage, a wingspan, a tail. My plane, drawn from directly above, exactly the way I'd look to something watching me fly. I photographed it for you exactly as I found it. Exhibits 4 through 9 in the folder I gave the department. Up close, the wheat wasn't cut. It was bent, folded flat at the base without breaking, and it smelled faintly of ozone, like the air after lightning. At the center of the plane shape, there was a depression in the bare dirt, a handprint, 5 fingers, except each finger ran a full 2 joints longer than any hand should. It wasn't pressed flat. It was angled like something had knelt and pointed, and the direction it pointed wasn't toward the road or the kettle. Elmer looked at it, said he wasn't coming back out here again, and walked to his truck without waiting for me. I stayed and lined the angle up with my compass. It ran dead straight toward my own house, 4.2 miles out. I flew home the long way that morning, the way I always do, out past the fallow section that borders our property, empty since the Hendricksons stopped planting it 2 years ago. I almost didn't look down. When I did, the wheat there had been cut overnight into the exact roofline of my house. The pitch of the roof, the chimney, even the little dogleg where the porch juts out, all of it rendered in scorched lines from an angle I've only ever seen through a windshield at 400 feet. There was one gap left uncut, a black square the size of a door, sitting exactly where my bedroom window would be. I landed, drove straight home, and found the window open. Nobody had touched the latch from outside. There was wheat chaff scattered across the sill, and no footprints anywhere in the yard. If you're watching this and you fly at night, check your own field first. Subscribe, because next time I'm telling you what I found inside the house.